right here on Sean's View Entertainment on YouTube.com. We're going to get a ton of insight as it concerns the WWE creative team, the process, and Vince McMahon's involvement. Former WWE creative writer Kevin Marshall called into a recent edition of Wrestling Observer Live, and he gave us a little behind-the-scenes look of how this all works, what goes into it, why certain things are getting changed, why things doesn't seem like they're as easy as you may think it is. Remember, Raw has been a train wreck. We have all been coming on here and critiquing and complaining and all this other stuff. And we have, these complaints are warranted. We have reason to complain, ladies and gentlemen. There is no reason why this is happening. But maybe right now we're going to get a little glimpse of why the things are happening the way they are. Because, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Lately, reports have been surfacing noting last-minute changes to Raw scripts. And reports have suggested Raw is occasionally rewritten, as we've been hearing, as the show is airing live. The following are some quotes from Marshall regarding the creative process and Vince McMahon's involvement in the entire equation. This should be interesting. Basically, everything is micromanaged to death by Vince. And I know there is a lot of talk of they over there when we talk about the writing process for the show. It is no secret that the buck stops with Vince. But when I was there, and I guess that this started sometime before even I started there back last October, Vince was micromanaging everything to death. Basically, you're sitting there trying to write for him, and you're trying to figure out what he wants. The job became very quickly trying to figure out what Vince is thinking and then having him tell you he's changed his mind. Maybe that's what just happened with Vince's old age, but that's already a major problem right there. Vince McMahon micromanaging everything to death is going to cause a lot of issues and a lot of conflict, and it's going to cause a lot more stress on the creative team, and it's going to cause a fluster of the entire thing. The feathers are going to be flustered. Things are going to go in another direction. So that right there is a huge problem. Let's see. So when we talk about the show being rewritten as it's happening, what I need people to know is that the show was likely written well in advance, and there was an attempt at it, but either nothing was approved or everything got scrapped and rewritten by the man himself. So it seems like Vince McMahon is screwing up this entire thing. I mean, we come on here and talk about how the creative team, they don't have a knack of what the fans want. They don't listen to the fans. But really, it's Vince McMahon. It ultimately comes down to Vince McMahon, and we all knew that. Marshall had the following to say when asked about the biggest misconception fans have of the creative team. Well, I think the biggest misconception is that we sit around and we decide who gets pushed and who doesn't. That we sit there and lay out what the tent poles are going to be for the year. Like, hey, John Cena should win the championship, blah, blah, blah. We don't make those decisions. We don't make those calls on finishes. We don't sit there and hold talent back. I think that's the biggest misconception, is the idea that we sit around and we bury talent and we try to come up with ideas to make everybody look stupid. That's certainly not the case. Just speaking from a writer's perspective, I never met anybody who was in the business of trying to make somebody else look bad. I think it's very easy when you watch our product, and I think that's just when you watch professional wrestling in general, to get the impression that, wow, they're really going out of their way to make this guy look stupid. It's really just a combination of things. There's a lot of politics that go on behind the scenes that the creative team is not in control of. And two, there are certain guys that probably are their own worst enemy, as we all are, myself included. It's a lot harder than it looks, especially when you have a limited roster. Well, I agree with that. I mean, look at the lackluster roster. Look at all the injuries. Look at all the releases that the WWE has been through. Look at all the bad things that have weighed the company down since the beginning of the year. Which when you thumb through it on WWE.com, that roster looks huge. But when you lay it down on a piece of paper and you have to fill like 16 segments for Monday and the 12 for Tuesday, which is SmackDown, and then you have main event and superstars and everything, it's really, really hard. And so it's really, really hard, and that's what it all comes down to. So, I mean, it's tough. There's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of, varying of, different of opinions, so to speak. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, whatever the issue is, whether it's Vince McMahon, whether it's the creative team, it seems like creative team knows what they're doing. They know what they want to do. They have a plan, but Vince McMahon goes and changes that plan, and then one thing leads to another, and then you have to go about how Vince McMahon is thinking. You have to almost get in Vince McMahon's head. That's how Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara knew Vince so well. They knew what he wanted, but they had their minds wrapped around the business, and they had a focal point. They knew how to get there. They knew how they were going to get there. But you see, in the Attitude Era, it was a whole different set of rules and circumstances and everything else in between. So, we can come on here, we can bash the creative team all we want, but ultimately, once again, it does come down to Vince McMahon, and we all knew that. But is Vince McMahon really that bad that, we're having bunnies and alligators and so many Divas matches that didn't change anything last night? I mean, Raw, Vince McMahon must be hearing the complaints. He must be seeing the comments. I mean, there comes a time when you're going to have to change, when you're going to have to evolve and get involved and stop changing plans, rewriting Raw. If you have a set plan, go with it. I mean, this whole rewriting Raw or having no script ready or, like we just heard it, the script is sometimes ready, okay? But then Vince McMahon looks at it and says, oh, that's not what I want. That's not what we're calling for. But once again, it's not John Cena and Randy Orton that, have it in for creative and say, oh, I'm going to get pushed, or I'm going to beat this guy, I'm going to beat that guy. It's all what Vince McMahon wants, and it's very hard to change Vince McMahon's mind when he's set on something. Your comments, your opinions, subscribe.